All right, let's dive into one of the biggest financial stories developing in India right now. After months and months of anticipation, the Eighth Pay Commission is officially up and running. This is a huge deal, folks, because this process is going to completely reshape the salaries and pensions for millions of people all across the country. And when I say millions, I mean it. First, let's just wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this. We're talking about a decision that will directly impact the lives of 1.2 crore people. That's nearly 50 lakh central government employees currently serving, plus a massive 69 lakh pensioners. This isn't just a small policy change. It's a financial event that's going to send ripples through the entire Indian economy. So to really get what's going on, we're going to break this down into 5 key parts. We'll kick things off with the big news that just dropped, then we'll look at the official timeline. After that, we'll get into the good stuff, decoding how the salary hike actually works. We'll also see what's on the line for pensioners. And finally, we'll explore the incredibly tough balancing act the Commission has ahead of them. Okay, first things first. The big news is finally here. For anyone who's been following this story, you know there's been a lot of waiting and wondering. Well, that long wait is officially over because a really crucial first step has just been taken. And this right here is that crucial first step. The approval of the terms of reference, you'll hear people call it the ToR, is basically the official green light from the Prime Minister-led Union Cabinet. Think of this document as the rulebook. It sets the scope, the objectives, and all the guidelines for the Commission. It's the action that formally kicks this whole massive process into gear. So, with the process officially started, 2 big questions immediately pop up, right? Who is steering this massive ship, and what does the timeline actually look like? Let's dig into the official roadmap. The team leading this commission has some serious credentials, that's for sure. It's chaired by Ranjana Prakash Desai, a former Supreme Court judge, which brings that crucial judicial oversight. She's joined by Professor Pulit Ghosh from IIM Bangalore. He's bringing the deep academic and economic expertise. And rounding out the team is Pankaj Jain, the Petroleum Secretary, who has a ton of administrative experience. A really well-rounded group. Now, this timeline, this reveals a really critical detail. The Commission gets 18 months to do its work and prepare a report. Then the government reviews it. But, and this is the part everyone cares about, look at that last date. The new pay scales will be effective from January 1st, 2026. It doesn't matter when they're officially approved. That means employees will get a lump sum back payment, or what's called arrears, for the difference in salary all the way back to that date. All right, now for the section I know everyone's been waiting for. How are these salary hikes actually calculated? Well, it all boils down to one very powerful number. This is it, the multi-crore rupee question that's on everybody's mind. And to answer it, we have to understand the core engine that drives this whole pay revision, something called the fitment factor. The easiest way to think of the fitment factor is as a salary multiplier. It's just a single number that the Commission decides on. They take an employee's current basic pay, multiply it by this factor, and boom, that's their new basic pay. So it's pretty simple. A higher fitment factor means a much bigger jump in your salary. Okay, let's make this real with an example. Let's say we have an entry-level employee with a basic salary of 20,300 rupees. In a pretty conservative scenario with a 1.92 fitment factor, their new basic pay jumps to almost 39,000. A moderate 2.0 factor takes it over 40,000. But in an optimistic scenario, using a 2.86 factor, that same basic pay skyrockets to over 58,000 rupees. I mean, the difference between these scenarios is absolutely massive. Just to give you some context, the last pay commission back in 2016 used a fitment factor of 2.57. This time around, the predictions are all over the place, ranging from a more cautious 1.92 all the way up to a very optimistic 2.86. Where that final number lands is going to depend heavily on the country's economic outlook and the government's budget, which is exactly why we're seeing such a wide range of possibilities right now. But hey, this isn't just about active employees. A huge, huge focus of this commission is going to be on the 69 lakh pensioners out there. And they are hoping for some really significant reforms to improve their financial security in retirement. One of the biggest demands on the table is a really dramatic increase in the minimum pension. The proposal is to raise it from the current 9,000 rupees a month all the way up to 25,000 rupees a month. If that gets approved, we're talking about a nearly 3-fold increase. That would be a major financial cushion for lower-income retirees. And here's another key proposal that's all about helping employees lock in their retirement benefits earlier. The push is to reduce the qualifying service period for a full pension from the current 15 years down to just 12 years. This kind of change would provide much greater retirement security, especially for people who might join government service a little later in their careers. So this brings us to the final and, maybe the most challenging part of this whole story. The commission is basically caught right in the middle between the incredibly high expectations of employees and the very real financial constraints the government is facing. It's a classic hopes versus reality situation. And you can already hear the concern from the employee unions. C. Sri Kumar, who is the General Secretary of the All India Defense Employees Federation, put it pretty bluntly. He said the government's guidelines seem to be focused way more on budget limits than on what the unions feel is a fair pay revision. There's a real fear that the commission's hands might be tied from the start. And on this slide, you can see exactly what he's talking about. The official government mandate explicitly tells the commission to consider things like fiscal prudence, in other words, being very careful with government spending. They also have to weigh the financial impact on state governments and the rising cost of pensions. So the crucial point here is that this isn't just about what's fair, it's about what the government believes the country can actually afford. And that leaves us with the one question that will define this entire process. Over the next 18 months, the Eighth Pay Commission has to walk this incredibly fine line. How will they balance the hopes of 1.2 crore people with the government's demand to be fiscally responsible? Their final report isn't just going to set salaries for the next decade. It's going to send a powerful signal about the nation's priorities. And you can bet we'll all be watching very, very closely to see how it unfolds.